Ezekiel chapter 22 verse 30. I looked for someone who might rebuild the wall of righteousness that guards the land. I searched for someone to stand in the gap in the wall so I wouldn't have to destroy the land, but I found no one. Merciful Father, forgive us for the sins of our land and our own unfaithfulness. Raise us up to stand in the gap in prayer and holiness so that your mercy may triumph over judgment. In Jesus' name, amen. Today for our portion we have from the book of Ezekiel chapters 22 and 23. In chapter 22 we see why Jerusalem's judgment would come, how it would come and who would be affected by the judgment. So chapter 22 is about the sins of Jerusalem and chapter 23 is about the adultery of the two sisters. Now, verse 1. Now this message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, are you ready to judge Jerusalem? Are you ready to judge this city of murderers? Publicly denounce her detestable sins and give her this message from the sovereign Lord. O city of murderers, doomed and damned, city of idols, filthy and foul, you are guilty because of the blood you have shed. You are defiled because of the idols you have made. Your day of destruction has come. You have reached the end of your years. I will make you an object of mockery throughout the world. O infamous city, filled with confusion, you will be mocked by people far and near. Every leader in Israel who lives within your walls is bent on murder. Fathers and mothers are treated with contempt. Foreigners are forced to pay for protection. Orphans and widows are wronged and oppressed among you. You despise my holy things and violate my Sabbath days of rest. People accuse others falsely and send them to their death. You are filled with idol worshippers and people who do obscene things. Men sleep with their fathers' wives and force themselves on women who are menstruating. Within your walls live men who commit adultery with their neighbors' wives, who defile their daughters-in-law or who rape their own sisters. There are hired murderers, lone racketeers and extortioners everywhere. They never even think of me and my commands, says the sovereign Lord. But now I clap my hands in indignation over your dishonest gain and bloodshed. Now the elders whom God had chosen were especially responsible for the moral climate of the nation. The same is true today. Unfortunately, many of the sins mentioned here have been committed in recent years by Christian leaders. Now in our world, we face many attacks by Satan. The more influence for God a person has over others, the more aggressively Satan attacks. We must uphold our leaders in prayer, and leaders must seek accountability in order to help them keep their moral and spiritual integrity. Now, verse 14. How strong and courageous will you be in my day of reckoning? I, the Lord, have spoken, and I will do what I said. I will scatter you among the nations and purge you of your wickedness. And when I have been dishonored among the nations because of you, you will know that I am the Lord. Verse 17 onwards, we see the Lord's refining furnace. Precious metals are refined with intense heat to remove the impurities. When heated, the dross or the slag rises to the top of the molten metal and is skimmed off and thrown away. The purpose of the invasion of Jerusalem was to refine the people. But the refining process showed that the people, like worthless slag, had nothing good in them. Verse 17. Then this message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, the people of Israel are the worthless slag that remain after silver is melted. They are the dross that is left over, a useless mixture of copper, tin, iron and lead. So tell them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Because you are all worthless slag, I will bring you to my crucible in Jerusalem. Just as silver, copper, iron, lead and tin are melted down in a furnace, I will melt you down in the heat of my fury. I will gather you together and blow the fire of my anger upon you, and you will melt like silver in fierce heat. Then you will know that I, the Lord, have poured out my fury on you. 23rd verse onwards. It's the sins of Israel's leaders here. Again, a message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, give the people of Israel this message. In the day of my indignation, you will be like a polluted land, a land without rain. Your princes plot conspiracies, just as lions stalk their prey. They devour innocent people, seizing treasures and extorting wealth. They make many widows in the land. Your priests have violated my instructions and defiled my holy things. They make no distinction between what is holy and what is not, and they do not teach my people the difference between what is ceremonially clean and unclean. They disregard my Sabbath days so that I am dishonored among them. The priests were supposed to keep God's worship pure and to teach the people about godly living, but the worship of God had become unimportant to them. They ignored the Sabbath and they refused to teach the people. They no longer carried out their God-given duties. When doing God's work becomes no more important to us than any other mundane task, we are no longer giving Him the reverence He deserves. God is holy and deserves our utmost respect. We should live in ways that reflect His holiness. Verse 27, your leaders are like wolves who tear apart their victims. They actually destroy people's lives for money, and your prophets cover up for them by announcing false visions and making lying predictions. They say, my message is from the sovereign Lord, when the Lord hasn't spoken a single word to them. Even common people oppress the poor, rob the needy, and deprive foreigners of justice. I looked for someone who might rebuild the wall of righteousness that guards the land. I searched for someone to stand in the gap in the wall so I wouldn't have to destroy the land, but I found no one. Now, the wall represented the spiritual protection surrounding God's people, but this wall was in serious disrepair because the people had no one who could lead them back to God. The feeble attempts to repair the gap through religious rituals and messengers, bringing the messages based on opinion rather than God's will, were as worthless as whitewash, which only covered up the real problems. The people really needed was total spiritual reconstruction. When we go through the motions of loving God without living His way, we cover up sins that could eventually damage us beyond repair. So let's not use religion as whitewash. Let's repair our lives by applying the principles of God's word to it. Then we can join with others to stand in the gap and make a difference for God in the world. Verse 31, so now I will pour out my fury on them, consuming them with the fire of my anger. I will heap on their heads the full penalty of all their sins. I, the sovereign Lord, have spoken. Chapter 23, we see the adultery of two sisters. Ezekiel continued his discussion of the reasons for God's judgment by using an allegory here of two sisters. He compared the northern and the southern kingdoms to two sisters who became prostitutes. The proud citizens of Jerusalem had long scorned their sister city of Samaria, thinking that they were superior, but God called both of these cities prostitutes, a shock to the people of Jerusalem who thought they were righteous. Ezekiel's imagery was surprising and repulsive to the people, but something graphic and attention grabbing was needed to show them their sinful ways. Now, verse 1, this message came to me from the Lord. Son of man, once there were two sisters who were daughters of the same mother. They became prostitutes in Egypt. Even as young girls, they allowed men to fondle their breasts. The older girl was named Oholah and her sister was Oholibah. I married them and they bore me sons and daughters. I am speaking of Samaria and Jerusalem, for Oholah is Samaria and Oholibah is Jerusalem. Then Oholah lusted after other lovers instead of me, and she gave her love to the Assyrian officers. They were all attractive young men, captains and commanders dressed in the handsome blue, charioteers driving their horses. Oholah is used here as another name for the northern kingdom of Israel, who had been lured away from God by the appealing Assyrians with their fashionable clothes and powerful position. The name here means her tent, referring to the counterfeit tabernacle set up by the northern kingdom. The people of Israel coveted the Assyrians' strength, power, wealth, and pleasure, the same qualities people think will bring happiness today. But the charming Assyrians drew Israel away from God. Without God, we lose our compass that shows us right from wrong, good from evil, and truth from deception. Verse 7. And so she prostituted herself with the most desirable men of Assyria, worshipping their idols and defiling herself. For when she left Egypt, she did not leave her spirit of prostitution behind. She was still as lewd as in her youth, when the Egyptians slept with her, fondled her breasts, and used her as a prostitute. And so I handed her over to her Assyrian lovers, whom she desired so much. They stripped her, took away her children as their slaves, and then killed her. After she received her punishment, her reputation was known to every woman in the land. Here, from 11th verse onwards, we are going to see Oholibah, meaning my tent is in her, referring to the temple in Jerusalem, which was shown to be even worse than Israel to the north, because she did not learn from the judgment on her sister, but continued in her lust for the Assyrians and Babylonians. Therefore, her judgment was equally certain. Just as Jerusalem was privileged and should have known better, we are privileged today because we know about Jesus Christ and his good news of salvation. We need to be sure to share that knowledge with those who have not heard it and to use it to follow him ourselves. Verse 11. Yet even though Oholibah saw what had happened to Oholah, her sister, she followed right in her footsteps, and she was even more depraved, abandoning herself to her lust and prostitution. She fawned over all the Assyrian officers, whose captains and commanders in handsome uniforms, those charioteers driving their horses, all of them attractive young men. She fawned over all the Assyrian officers probably means that Judah excessively tried to please Assyria. This may refer to when Ahaz paid protection money to Tiglath-Pileser III. He sought only a political and military solution, ignoring the core spiritual problem that he and his people had. Verse 13. I saw the way she was going, defiling herself just like her older sister. Then she carried her prostitution even further. She fell in love with pictures that were painted on a wall, pictures of Babylonian military officers outfitted in striking red uniforms. Handsome belts encircled their waists and flowing turbans crowned their heads. They were dressed like chariot officers from the land of Babylonia. When she saw these paintings, she longed to give herself to them. So she sent messengers to Babylonia to invite them to come to her. During the extra 15 years of life that God gave him, Hezekiah received Babylonian envoys visiting Jerusalem. Hezekiah foolishly showed them all the treasures Judah possessed and almost brought the kingdom down. Verse 17. So they came and committed adultery with her, defiling her in the bed of love. After being defiled, however, she rejected them in disgust. Now, at first, the leaders of Judah made an alliance with Babylonia, that is Chaldea, but then they changed their mind. They didn't like paying all that tribute money to Babylon. During the reigns of Jehoiakim and Zedekiah, Judah looked to Egypt for help. Judah's unfaithfulness, that is, their alliances with godless nations, cost them the only real protection they ever had, that is, God. Verse 18. In the same way, I became disgusted with Oholibah and rejected her, just as I had rejected her sister, because she flaunted herself before them and gave herself to satisfy their lusts. Yet she turned to even greater prostitution, remembering her youth when she was a prostitute in Egypt. She lusted after lovers with genitals as large as a donkey's and emissions like those of a horse. And so, Oholibah, you relived your former days as a young girl in Egypt when you first allowed allowed your breasts to be fondled. These very graphic words have shocked people both then and now. Now, the Bible does not shy away from reality but uses strong language to show how despicable Judah had become. Ezekiel used extreme images to warn people. They can also warn us away from what people and nations lust after even today. Now, verse 22 onwards, we see the Lord's judgment on Oholibah. This predicts the last attack on Jerusalem that would destroy the city and bring to Babylonia the third wave of captives in 586 BC. The first attack came in 605 and the second in 597. Pekod, Shoah and Koah were Babylonian allies here. Verse 22, therefore, Oholibah, this is what the sovereign Lord says, I will send your lovers against you from every direction, those very nations from which you turned away in disgust. For the Babylonians will come with all the Chaldeans from Pekod and Shoah and Koah, and all the Assyrians will come with them, handsome young captains, commanders, chariot officers, and other high-ranking officers, all riding their horses. They will all come against you from the north with chariots, wagons, and a great army prepared for attack. They will take up positions on every side, surrounding you with men armed with shields and helmets, and I will hand you over to them for punishment, so they can do with you as they please. I will turn my jealous anger against you, and they will deal harshly with you. They will cut off your nose and ears, and any survivors will then be slaughtered by the sword. Your children will be taken away as captives, and everything that is left will be burned. They will strip you of your beautiful clothes and jewels. In this way, I will put a stop to the lewdness and prostitution you brought from Egypt. You will never again cast longing eyes on those things or fondly remember your time in Egypt. For this is what the sovereign Lord says, I will surely hand you over to your enemies, to those you loathe, those you rejected. They will treat you with hatred and rob you of all you own, leaving you stark naked. The shame of your prostitution will be exposed to all the world. You brought all this on yourself by prostituting yourself to other nations, defiling yourself with all their idols. Because you have followed in your sister's footsteps, I will force you to drink the same cup of terror she drank. Yes, this is what the sovereign Lord says. You will drink your sister's cup of terror, a cup that is large and deep. It is filled to the brim with scorn and derision. Drunkenness and anguish will fill you, for your cup is filled to the brim with distress and desolation. The same cup your sister Samaria drank. You will drain that cup of terror to the very bottom. Then you will smash it into pieces and beat your breast in anguish. I, the sovereign Lord, have spoken. And because you have forgotten me and turned your back on me, this is what the sovereign Lord says, you must bear the consequences of all your lewdness and prostitution. Now, 36th verse onwards, we see the Lord's judgment on both these sisters. The Lord said to me, Son of man, you must accuse Oholah and Oholibah of all their detestable sins. They have committed both adultery and murder, adultery by worshipping idols and murder by burning as sacrifices the children they bore to me. Further, they have defiled my temple and violated my Sabbath day. On the very day that they sacrificed their children to their idols, they boldly came into my temple to worship. They came in and defiled my house. Now, the Israelites went so far as to sacrifice their own children to idols and then make sacrifices to God on the same day. This not only was evil, but also made a mockery of worship of the one true God. We cannot enter God's presence in worship and prayer while willfully sinning at the same time. That would be like a person having sex with a neighbor and then going home to celebrate his or her wedding anniversary. Verse 40, your sisters sent messengers to distant lands to get men. Then when they arrived, you bathed yourself, painted your eyelids, and put on your finest jewels on for them. You sat with them on a beautifully embroidered couch and put my incense and my special oil on a table that was spread before you. From your room came the sound of many men carousing. They were lustful men and drunkards from the wilderness who put bracelets on your wrists and beautiful crowns on your heads. Then I said, if they really want to have sex with the old worn-out prostitutes like these, let them. And that is what they did. They had sex with Oholah and Oholibah, these shameless prostitutes. But righteous people will judge these sister cities for what they really are, adulterers and murderers. Now this is what the sovereign Lord says. Bring an army against them them and hand them over to be terrorized and plundered, for their enemies will stone them and kill them with swords. They will butcher their sons and daughters and burn their homes. In this way, I will put an end to lewdness and idolatry in the land, and my judgment will be a warning to all women not to follow your wicked example. You will be fully repaid for all your prostitution, your worship of idols. Yes, you will suffer the full penalty. Then you will know that I am the sovereign Lord.